Hi everyone, I hope you are doing great. I am Shreya Sachan, and today in conversation with Miss Neha Jetley, we are going to talk about her journey, life, and music. So, hi Neha, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Very excited to shoot this podcast with you. So, the first section we have is the story behind you. Can you tell us about your early life and upbringing in India?
Yes. I grew up in the 80s in India, and I was the oldest of three children. We were a very musical family, and my mother recognized my interest in music at a very early age. And she got me a Guruji when I was 8 years old, or even seven, I think.
Wow.
And I've been singing since then. And she encouraged me to explore whatever it is that I wanted, whether it was my interest in music, debating. I loved reading. And so we had a very encouraging family environment. We also grew up in the 80s, which was, I think a very unique period where community was a big thing and it had its own charm. The 90s, the mid 90s is when the internet came in and we all kind of started getting glued to our computers and now to
Right.
our phones. But I think kids of the 80s had a very unique period where we used to play outside a lot. We used to, talk to each other a lot and not just stare at computer screens or be fascinated by the internet. So it was a very lovely time to grow up in Delhi. And I was fortunate enough to have a family that encouraged my music or whatever it is that I wanted to explore growing up.
Right. So, talking about the 80s, what were the key influences growing up in the 1980s in India that shaped your personality and interests?
So, because I was learning Indian classical music, and when along with classical music, when you're learning rags, you also learn ghazals and thumris and Sufi and Qawwali music. And so, a big influence was Mehdi Hassan and Farida Khanum for me. These were people who I really looked up to as musicians and singers, and they were doing some absolutely outstanding work at that point of time. And I was very influenced by them. I was also very influenced by Jagjit Singh and Asha Bhosle, whose voice I thought was
Of
just
course.
absolutely wonderful.
Great. How did your family and cultural environment influence your love for music?
Right. So, like I said earlier, there's a movie called The Sound of Music. And in that, there's a very musical family called the Von Trapps. And my mother used to call us the Von Trapps because we all used to sing together growing up. And she recognized my interest in music at a very early age. And she got me a classical music Guruji, and I went on to do my master's in Indian classical music.
Wow.
And that is basically how I started.
Wow. What's a defining childhood memory that connects to your music or artistic journey?
There's so many. Um, if I can talk about two,
Of
I
course.
would pick two because one is more of a win and the other is more emotional. So, the emotional part is what I'll talk about first. My great grandmother, my mom's mother's mother, lived in Dehradun, and she was also a classical singer. And when I used to go and visit her, or when she used to visit Delhi, we used to jam together, which was so amazing,
Of course.
awesome, and cool to be singing with your great grandmother.
Right, absolutely.
Imagine that. Like, who has that? And she used to, when she was in Dehradun, she used to record the rags that she wanted me to hear on a cassette. And I don't know if many people know what cassettes are and tape recorders are, but back in the day, we used to, record songs. There was a cassette, and then we used to mail the cassette by post. then it used to come to you. You used to put it into the tape recorder and listen to it. So, one of my most precious memories is singing with her and also listening to her
How
cassettes with all
sweet.
the rags she used to record and send to me to listen to and sing along with. And another memory is that I took part in an all India classical music competition in Calcutta when I was 13 or 14. And it was such great exposure to hear musicians from, well, young musicians like myself at that point from all over India come for this competition. And I came second,
Wow,
which was
congratulations.
so amazing, and it gave me so much confidence in what I was doing, and it really set the path for
Right.
me to continue singing till I was in India.
Wow, that's amazing. So I think this questions wraps up our first section. Moving on to the next section, that is roots and reflections. So Neha, tell me, where are you living currently?
So currently, I live in Los Angeles. We lived in Delhi earlier, but in COVID, we moved to Los Angeles.
Okay, so how has moving from India to US influenced your identity and creative outlook?
So I would definitely say that it was challenging at first to move from India to the US, especially in terms of music. But what I did was that I embraced what I saw all around me. LA is a very creative place, and as you know, it's the center of Hollywood, it's the center of music, not just in the States, but in the world, really. And so I took what influenced me and embraced that and kind of turned it into my music and worked with what I had over there and also retained, my Indian classical traditions and kind of merged the two.
So, like, was it difficult for you to do that?
It was definitely challenging because at the end of the day, when you're an Indian classical singer, you just want to sing, with a harmonium and a tabla and a sitar. And when you live in the West, you have many other instruments. Like you have an Iranian guitar, which sounds so beautiful, and I'd never heard of that before. And that was definitely an amazing discovery. And then you have so many other instruments from all around the world that you can incorporate into your music.
Of
And so it
course.
was challenging because I always wanted to sing the way I sing. We have so much. Our music is so beautiful with the alap and the harmonium and the tabla, sitar.
Absolutely.
But I also learned to incorporate other aspects of world music
So,
into.
can you name some world music that you incorporate in your music and ghazals?
I would say that I have tried to make my music modern because the music that I sing is very old world.
Right.
Ghazals are so classic.
Of course.
And what I've tried to do is just incorporate uh, and bring modern music, background music to it, and kept my voice more traditional.
Okay. So, how do you stay connected to your Indian roots while staying in the Los Angeles?
So I sing. I have a teacher in India, and I religiously sing and do riyaz with her twice a week. Other days of the week, I do riyaz myself. And I love Indian food, and I cook a lot of Indian food. I love going out for Indian food. I love celebrating festivals, Indian festivals, and having my community over, whether it's, Indians we know, South Asians, or the other people we know that are not Indian, and inviting them into our culture, teaching them about our traditions, our food, our music. So that's really how I stay connected.
So, talking about the Indian music, what is that one Indian food that you always crave for?
Paneer.
Oh, yes, everybody loves
I'm a
paneer.
Delhi girl at the end of the day, and I just love paneer in any form, shape. It doesn't matter what kind of paneer it is, and I just absolutely love paneer. I'm trying to make my own fresh paneer at home
Wow,
now.
that's
It's
nice.
a challenge, but
That's organic and healthy at the same
yes,
time.
yes, exactly. I'm going to get there one day.
You talked about your guru being in India. So, like, is it challenging? Is like there is a huge time difference from Los
Yes,
Angeles and India. So, how do you manage it?
you're so right. The time difference between India and the US is 12 hours. So, literally, when it's day here, it's night here. I'm very lucky that I have a guru who works better at night, and I'm a morning person. So we just found each other where it my class happens at 9 a.m. my time and it's 9 p.m. her time. So not too late for her and not too early for me.
Right.
So she's a night person, I'm a morning person. And so we just work beautifully together because we do class at that time.
Of course. That's amazing.
Yes.
Can you share your experience of balancing Indian and Western culture elements in your life and music?
So, like I said earlier, what I try to do is, pick the best of what I see around me. Whether it's celebrating Eid, in at our school, we have a pretty sizable Muslim community.
Right.
Whether it's celebrating Rosh Hashanah, which is a Jewish festival, and of course Christmas. So whether it's those traditions and what I like about those traditions. For example, Eid is a time where the family eats together. I love that. Rosh Hashanah is a time where a family reflects, sits down, and they cut off from all technology and they reflect. I love that. And then obviously Christmas is for me a time where you give gifts. So that's how I look at it. And so I love that. And so I take from all of these different cultures that we see around us and try to make it part of our family traditions. And
Right.
could you repeat the second part of your question? I don't know if I got that.
Can you share your experience of balancing Indian and Western culture
Ye-
elements in your life and music?
Sure. So, Indian culture, I'm so Indian at the end of the day that it just comes out in how I carry myself, how I talk, how I entertain at home. I always have jasmine and neroli like in my house. It's always smelling of that. Another part of my house is smelling of Indian food. So we have so that I'm so Indian, and then I kind of assimilate, from what is around me, like I
Right.
said earlier, and just take those parts in also.
Of course. We talked about festivals. So, what is that one festival that you really miss from your childhood, or it's very nostalgic for you?
Well, being a North Indian, again, I miss Diwali a lot.
Right.
You know,
Festival of Light, of course.
it really is the festival of lights, and we celebrate it in Delhi with such pomp and so much celebration for not just one day,
Of
for a
course.
week and before and a week after, with all the festivals like Tika that
Right.
come after, and then we have Dhanteras before. And I really do miss that lead up to Diwali, and then the lead down after Diwali, all the
All the
festivals.
firecrackers and diyas,
Yes,
of course.
yes. So I miss that, and we have one day to celebrate it in
Right.
the US, and so I try to fit in a lot into that day.
Of course, I get it. So that wraps up our second section. Coming to the third, the journey into music. So, Neha, let's talk about your inspiration and first steps. So, how did you first get into singing ghazals, Sufi, and qawwalis?
So in our house, we always had ghazal music playing growing up. We used to listen to a lot of Sufi, a lot of Qawwali. And so it just felt like a natural way to start singing outside of, my riyaz, which was more classical music. And that's how I got into singing ghazals.
So, just for the audience, can you differentiate between ghazal,
Sure.
Sufis, and qawwalis?
Yes. So ghazals are slower and they are more about emotion. Sufi is a bit more spiritual music, and Qawwali is upbeat music where you really a group, and it's usually sung in a group where you connect with the audience and you're kind of there's a back and forth.
I love how you explained the three. So, out of these three, which one is your favorite?
I would have to say that it's ghazals.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. Who were your musical idols growing up?
So, growing up, there were a bunch. There was, of course, Jagjit Singh and Asha Bhosle. And I also loved Mehdi Hassan for the ghazals that he sang, and Farida Khanum.
So, what is the one thing that you loved about them?
For Jagjit Singh, I think his ability to just portray raw emotion through his lyrics and tell a story through every song.
Right.
I think that that's what I loved about him. Asha Bhosle's voice was so versatile. So I was so inspired by her voice because it was so deep, so different from the other Bollywood singers in that genre. And Mehdi Hassan, of course, for his voice and the way he just kind of went into his own breakouts of his own song. Every time you heard him sing the same song, it sounded different because he used to just kind of go into his own journey in the middle of the song and do a different version of his original song.
So, what is like? What are your favorite songs from each of the artists?
Jagjit Singh would be Tum Itna Jo Muskura Rahe Ho,
Very nice
which
song.
I've also done, and tried to do justice and pay my respects to him as an artist.
Can we hear it from you then,
Of
for the
course,
audience?
yeah, I'll sing just two lines.
Sure, sure, sure.
तुम इतना जो मुस्कुरा रहे हो, क्या गम है जिसको छुपा रहे हो, तुम इतना जो मुस्कुरा रहे हो.
Wow. And what about the other two singers, like Asha Bhosle you mentioned?
Yes, Asha Bhosle, I honestly love all her music.
Right, right. She's amazing.
I
The
love it
energy
all.
she has in her songs, it's
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
Right.
I can't pick a favorite there.
That
And
makes one of us.
and Mehdi Hassan, I would have to say Mohabbat Karne Wale, and Farida Khanum, of course, Aaj Jaane Ki Zid.
Of course, that's one of your song.
Yes. आज जाने की जिद ना करो, हाय मर जाएंगे हम तो लुट जाएंगे, ऐसी बातें किया ना करो, आज जाने की
Moving forward, what made you decide to start your professional musical journey?
So, growing up, even though music was such a big part of my life, I decided to pursue the practical path of going to college and studying finance and working in banking and finance for almost 2 decades.
Wow.
And in COVID, I decided, like many people did, that they need to take a longer look at what they're doing in life. Another thing that happened in COVID was that we decided to move from New Delhi to Los Angeles in California. And California, and especially Los Angeles, is really the hub of creativity, not just in the US, but in the world. It has
Right.
Hollywood, it has music. It's really at the center of it. So just being surrounded by that very creative environment and being immersed in it helped me to realize that it was time to pursue something that gave me true joy in life and just brought me a lot of happiness. And it just helped me reassess what I wanted to do with my life going forward.
Of course. So, talking about being creative, were there any hobbies that you pursued as a childhood, as a child, that gave you happiness and joy that you really enjoyed?
Besides
Of
music,
course.
I would say I used to love swimming.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I was on my school swim team, and I used to also swim for Delhi State.
that's
So
nice.
I've been a swimmer. I used to debate.
I think you are an all-rounder then.
No, no. And one thing that, because of my music, that I really enjoyed was chanting Sanskrit shlokas.
Right.
So I used to chant a lot of Sanskrit shlokas. I don't do that anymore, but that is definitely something that at some point I want to get back to in my career. And it brought me a lot of peace. And I used to also chant at school because Sanskrit was a big part of our curriculum growing up. And it's
Right.
such a wonderful language.
Of
It's the
course.
root of most modern languages, not just, Hindi. And I really enjoyed that.
Wow. How did singing at family and friends gathering prepare you for public performances?
So I think it was really important to start with singing in small gatherings, because when you're singing in a small gathering, you're really able to connect one on one with the audience, and you can kind of see what it is that they're experiencing through your music. And that really gives you more inspiration and confidence. And that really helped, singing in smaller gatherings and building up confidence and knowing what works, what doesn't work, and helped to prepare me for larger.
So, Neha, as a child, were you an introvert person or an
Not at all.
extrovert?
I was never an introvert. Though I am a very private person, but when I'm with other people, I love to, I'm very curious. So I love to chat. I love to ask them about where they're from. I love to learn about other people. And I'm very curious by
So,
nature.
I think that makes you an ambivert. So, I think we've wrapped up with the third section. Coming up to the fourth section, we have behind the mic. So, Neha, we have talked about everything, your idols, your inspiration, your journey. But let's come up to the most important question. How do you choose which song to cover?
So for me, it's very important to connect to the song emotionally. It could be the lyrics, it could be the melody, because sometimes it's the melody and not the lyrics, or
Absolutely.
even the story behind the song. If I, read that this is what the artist was going through when they wrote the song, that might also really resonate with me. So once I've connected emotionally with the song, then I try to bring my own authenticity to it.
So, what's your creative process like when you are preparing for a song?
So once I've connected emotionally with the song, I will experiment with it and practice it over and over and kind of bring my own authenticity to the song while also keeping its original beauty intact.
Absolutely. So, talking about the authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
what emotions do you aim to evoke with your music?
I want my audience to really connect with the song, and I want them to feel very realistically what they are going through when they're hearing the song.
Right.
I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Of course, it makes sense. I think you can connect to a song more if you're dealing with that situation.
Yes, you might be going through something
Right.
at that point, whether it's nostalgia, it reminds them of something, whether it's comfort,
Right.
okay, I'm going through this and others have also been through this, or even cathartic, like a healing, like, oh, yes, this is what happened to this person, and, it happens to all of us. It's a journey of life. So I want my audience to really deeply feel what they're feeling because that's what I felt. And I also was thinking of something when I recorded the song, a situation, a time in my life. And most ghazals are not very happy music.
Right.
There's four feelings in life, the basic ones, and then there's a lot. I don't know if you've seen Inside Out, the
I
movie.
have. It's an amazing
It really
movie. You
is.
know, it is my happy watch. If I'm sad, I do watch that movie. It
Yes.
really brings out the emotions inside you and it really helps you to think straight, actually.
Yes, you're
Like,
so
it's
right.
okay to feel sad, it's okay to be happy, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be anxious.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a really nice
Absolutely.
movie.
So I love that movie. I have a 12-year-old, and we'll talk more about him later. And I just love watching that movie, both
Right.
one and two, with him. And out of the four feelings, sadness is what ghazals usually evoke, and joy is what, Kavali evokes.
But I think after watching the movie, we do realize that the sadness part of our life is really important.
It
Like,
is.
without sadness, we have nothing. So,
Yes.
all our emotions are equally important for us. So, I think which makes a song an amazing song if you put our emotions into it.
Yes, yes. And songs can be different. They can be about invoking fear.
Right.
They can be, when, especially with like the tune, like, "Da-na-na,"
Of
and that
course.
is like,
Right.
whoa, what's happening? And then you have, "Da-na-na," and that totally changes the tone of the song.
Right, very well put up. So I think it wraps up the section. So moving forward, we have career milestones. So, milestones are really important for us. It helps us to motivate and, create better music. So, what led to the release of your debut single as Aaj Jaane Ki Zid?
So, Aaj Ki Zid is a song that was sung by Farida Khanum, and then many, many other people have sung it. And I have been singing this song for as long as I can remember. In fact, some people might even say that it's the only song I know. Every artist has that one song.
Absolutely.
And for me, in this moment, that is the song, even though it's not mine and I'm borrowing it from another artist. And it was a song I've sung in family gatherings when I was a child. It's a song I serenaded my now husband with on our first date. And I really think that it's a ghazal that exemplifies the raw power of music,
True,
you know.
true. So, I heard your song, I saw your reel, and I absolutely loved it. But now, since you are here in person, can we hear the song from you?
Of course. I hope it sounds as good here.
Of course.
I'll sing a couple of lines. आ आज जाने की जिद ना करो, यूं ही पहलू में बैठे रहो, आज जाने की जिद ना करो.
Incredible.
How did your second song, Ranjish, come to be?
So, Ranjish to me is a hauntingly beautiful song. It's a song about longing and vulnerability, and these are universal themes. दिल ही दुखाने के लिए आ रंजिशी सही.
Right. So, what does this song mean to you?
So for me, the song was about emotionally connecting with myself, about a time in my life that I went through something like this. And I really just reflected on it and tried to bring that emotion when I was recording the song.
So, do you feel emotional while recording the song?
Of course, you have to. Aren't we always feeling some emotions like we just talked about?
Right, right. So, is it difficult to control your emotions sometimes? Because I think when you go back to a sad part of your life, it's sometimes difficult to control your emotions and then they start overflowing. So, like, is it challenging
Yes.
for you?
Yes, it is. But I have to quickly snap out of it because we live in the real world. And it's nice to be with your emotions, but it's not the 80s anymore, and life is very fast.
Very true, very
And
true.
you are jumping from one situation to another, especially being a mom. And so that is how I get out of that emotion.
I think it's about being mom and I think being the elder one in your family as
Yes,
well.
always taking charge.
Yeah, I can
Yes.
understand because I'm also the elder one in my
So you
family, so
know.
I get about controlling the emotions and then putting a
Yes.
smile sometimes. So I totally
Yes.
get it.
Yes.
So, what are the challenges of breaking into ghazal music space in a new country?
So I don't think that it's about being in a new country. I think music is global, and
Right.
if the music sounds good, everybody is going to listen to it. And if they can connect with it, I listen to Spanish music,
Yeah, I
French
was going to say
music,
Spanish.
Italian music, and I love all of those. I don't understand what they're saying. I don't understand any of these languages. But something about the melody and the voice and resonates with me with the few songs that I like. And that's really what I'm hoping will work. And secondly, it's not just about making great music in today's day and age. Again, we're living in a very digital age. It's about telling the story behind it and talking about your personal experience and journey, which for me has been a challenge because I'm a very private person. But I really do want to tell my audience why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. So I think the language barrier doesn't count to music because I know nothing about Spanish and then there are some Spanish songs that I can sing like without knowing a single word, but I still can sing word to word. So I can
Exactly.
get it.
And what about Natu Natu?
Right, exactly, of
You
course.
know, that won an Oscar, and
Absolutely.
nobody knows
There, if
in the US what Natu Natu means, but
exactly.
they love it.
They even released the Hindi version of the song, but I think the original version of the song is really famous and
Absolutely. Music is global. And if that song could win an Oscar, then there's hope for all of us struggling and upcoming musicians in the world.
very true, very true. So Neha, you also collaborated with Bappa Lahiri.
Yes.
So how was the experience?
So, Bappa is an absolutely amazing, down to earth, and beautiful person. He has so many qualities of his dad that, I didn't know his father, but you could see them. He is incredibly talented and he's so humble. He, even though he knows 1,000 times more than I do about music production, and I'm just a singer, he was very, very conscious of what I wanted to bring to these songs. And he incorporated everything that I told him I wanted in the song. And he was very respectful of my thoughts. And I really appreciated that.
Of course. So, how did you meet him?
I met him through some common friends
Okay.
in Los Angeles. He has worked and lived in Los Angeles for many years now, and he shuttles back and forth between India and the US.
Okay. So, wrapping up with the section, next up we have reflections on journey and forward vision, where we'll talk about, personal growth.
Yes.
And I think when we talk about personal growth, we cannot leave family behind. So, what role does your family play in your music career?
I'm again in this second half of life, like I was telling you earlier, growing up, my family, my mom, dad was so supportive of my music. And I was lucky enough to meet somebody who also loves music. My husband plays the guitar and he sings Western music. And my son plays the keyboard and piano, and he's also dabbling in music production now.
Wow, how old is he?
He's 12.
So sweet, and he's
Yes.
already doing all of it.
Yes, and he's also a very good singer, even though he's not getting professional training. And we're trying to push him towards professional training. But so we are, again, a musical family, and our last name is Jetley, and we like to call ourselves the Jets. And it's not very unusual for us on a weekend evening when we're just sitting around to listen to music, jam together, play together, listen to a song, try to recreate it. So it's very nice that even they are very supportive of my love for music
Of
and
course.
very, very encouraging.
Right. Uh, so, how has music helped you process and express your life experiences?
So for me, music is like therapy. You know, when I'm going through something, if it's anxiety, I feel like I just do a few minutes of riyaz and it really calms me down. Like I told you earlier, my classes are in the morning and it just helps to set the tone for the rest of my day. And even if I'm not able to like channel my emotions into words, I feel like music helps me to do that.
Of course, I think I'm a terrible, terrible singer. So I think in my case, when I listen to music, it really calms me down. So I think
Yes.
music in general is really therapeutic.
Yes.
So I think we have wrapped up with the session. Moving on to the next, connection with the fans. So how do you plan to engage with your audience?
I would say through live shows and social media. I think that live shows help to create a shared connection between audiences, and social media helps to keep that connection alive.
Right. I think earlier we did talk about how the modern world is different to that of 1980s, and I
Yes,
think social media plays a really important role to boost a career and to gain audience and
absolutely.
to actually know what your audience want. So I think it's a really nice platform to
Yes,
begin with.
yes, it's important.
So since we are talking about fans, can you share a memorable interaction with them?
Yes, I can. When I had just released Aajane Ki Zid, one of my listeners sent me a message to say that her father, who had just passed away last year, it was his favorite ghazal, and just listening to it made her very emotional and also, brought back lots of memories of him. And that just really reinforced why I'm doing what I'm doing and made me realize that I am able to have people make those connections with themselves.
Of course, I think when a fan connects with you emotionally, that's where you realize that, I'm in a right path, that
Yes.
I'm able to, have an emotional connection with them. So I think
Yes.
it's a really great thing. So I think we have wrapped up with the connection with the fan section. So, coming up to the next section, the future, where we'll be talking about your visions and goals. So, what's next for you in your career, like your music career?
So I'm working on some original compositions now. So far, I've just been borrowing from a body of amazing artists. And I hope to blend traditional and contemporary styles into that music. And what I also want to be able to do is tell my personal stories through that music.
Wow. So, where do you see yourself as an artist in the next 5 years?
I hope to be able to build a diverse body of work that resonates with a global audience. One of my main goals is to keep ghazals alive for future generations so that they can appreciate the raw beauty of ghazals, of Sufi music, and Qawwali music
Right,
also.
right. So Neha, we've heard all your covers. So I think we all are waiting for your original song, and I'm sure it will be an amazing hit. Amazing hit.
Yes, I hope so.
So I think that brings to the end of the future section. So coming up to a really fun section, that is quirks and queries. So we'll be having a rapid fire round with you.
Okay,
So I'll be asking you a couple of questions. So you have to be quick with them.
okay.
So the first question is, if you could perform a duet with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
It would hands down have to be Farida Khanum because she sang Ajani Ki Sid.
Right. What's the most surprising song or genre you enjoy outside of ghazal?
I listen to a lot of hip hop with my husband and my son, and I love it.
I think it's world apart, like day and night. It's totally opposite to what
Opposite.
we had a conversation till right now.
Yes.
Moving forward, if your life were a movie, what would the title and the theme song will be?
The title would have to be Life is Beautiful, and I think this theme song would have to be Zindagi Kaisi Hai
Oh
Paheli.
wow, I think that's a classic song.
Yes.
Moving forward, if you could time travel to perform anywhere in history, where would you go?
I would perform with Tansen at Akbar's court because
Okay.
Tansen was supposed to have magical powers when it came to music. He could even make it rain.
Right, right. So I think we've come to the end of the fun section. Moving on to the final section of our podcast, that is the final chords. So I would like to ask you, what advice would you give to someone starting their artistic journey later in life?
I would say it's never too late. Start where you are with what you have.
Very well
There's
said.
no expiration date to pursuing your passion.
Very well said. So, any words for young women balancing their passion and daily jobs?
Yes. While I ignored, music for a large part of my professional career in finance, my advice would be kind to yourself. It's absolutely okay to take out time to pursue your passion. Don't let go of that daily job because you need that, but take it one step at a time and build up what you have to pursue your passion.
I think that's a really great advice. If your childhood self heard your music today, what do you think they would say?
I think that my childhood self would be very proud of me. They would be very happy that I've been authentic and stuck to what I've loved. Somebody told me that, oh, you're in America, you should be doing Hindi, English, and you should be doing, fast music. And I said, I need to stay true to myself. I
Right.
love ghazals and I love Sufi Qawwali, and that's what I'm going to do. And if some people like it, great, and if some people don't, it's what it is.
Very well said. So, how can people best support your music journey?
Please listen to my music, share it with others, and give me feedback because feedback really means the world to me.
So, guys, do check out her profile on Sawan, Apple Music, Spotify, and all her social media handles. And I'll be attaching all her Instagram handles, Facebook handles, all the links in the description box. Go and hit the like button. Do follow her. Her handle is Neha J Music. And we can't wait to see you what you have for us in your music store. So if you have any questions for her, you can leave them in the comment section and she will answer them in her next podcast. See you there. Bye.